I'm curious, what was that like? I mean, it's very daunting. So you're sitting there as you're young, you're working as an intern, you're working in a community that sounds obviously very depressed, your words. And you're tasked with revitalizing an area. And this is the South, and the South isn't what it is today. Charlotte is not what it is today. It wasn't really on anyone's map. It wasn't considered an emerging market.
Rock Hill wasn't considered part of Charlotte.
Rock Hill wasn't, yeah. So how daunting was that task? And why did you even think that this was possible to rescue this town? What was the vision, I guess?
I was young and foolish. There wasn't a plan. And so, the Rock Hill Economic Development Corporation board came together, business leaders and elected officials and city manager, and started just looking for something, anything that could begin to make a difference. And so the first things we did were trying to support the growth of local businesses. And so we were doing loan programs, and actually we did an equity program where we raised money to put equity into businesses in the community. And the truth was that none of that was very effective. I mean, loaning money to businesses when the banks aren't willing to loan that same business that money is not
sustainable.
Yeah, it's not a good place to be.
Well, so, what was the scale of these programs? The equity piece, the lending piece. I mean,
you got to remember you're talking in $1985,
yeah.
But I think the equity pool that we raised was about $250,000, if I remember correctly, and the loans that we were making to businesses were, in the $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 range. Some of those loans got repaid and were successful. I can remember Amida Industries that became, I can't remember, bought by a national company out in Rock Hill Industrial Park that does big lighting systems. Some good loans that help local businesses grow, but a lot of the loans just never got repaid. So that wasn't a real successful strategy. We tried that for a few years and moved on to other things. Ultimately, the first thing that we hit upon that was really successful was the idea that if Rock Hill was going to attract new businesses and new jobs, we had to have a place for those new businesses and jobs to locate. And the Rock Hill Industrial Park had been created back in the 1960s. But it was really the only industrial park, and it was kind of a metal building park, not the kind of high. By the 1980s, a lot of businesses looked at that park and said, that's not the kind of environment that we want to grow our business in.
Are we talking about the area around York Tech where the...
No, I'm talking about Rock Hill Industrial Park that's on Mount Gallant Road.
Mount Gallant, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And so the first really successful program was the Airport Industrial Park. The city owned land adjacent to the airport that was not required for future airport operations. And so the city basically donated that land for the development of a business park, 100 acres or so. We were able to get federal grants to help support the development of roads and utilities in that park. And the city council at that time made what I think was a very, very wise and forward-thinking decision. They said that as the land at the Airport Industrial Park was sold, that the net proceeds of the sale of the land would go to Rock Hill Economic Development Corporation to create a fund for new investments. And so that was sort of the pattern that Rock Hill Economic Development Corporation took profits from the Airport Industrial Park and invested those at Tech Park, which was the second business park, the one that you're referring to. Tech Park was on land that had belonged to J.P. Stevens as part of the industrial mill that's there on Dave Law Boulevard. So we took land from an old textile mill and converted it into a modern business park.
How appropriate.
Yep. Income from Tech Park led us to the development of Waterford Business Park, where Rock Hill Economic Development at that point went out and acquired over $3 million worth of land to develop a business park. And the city created one of the first tax increment districts in South Carolina to help fund the development of that park. So the city used TIF from the growth of the Galleria area at that time to help fund all the infrastructure. Again, created what has become an extremely valuable business park with thousands of jobs, some great businesses located out there. And so that sort of set the pattern. For a long time, Rock Hill Economic Development Corporation's primary business activity was the development of business parks. And that was probably true until about 2000. And in 2000, Rock Hill, from outward appearances, was a growing, healthy, prosperous community. We were increasingly tied to Charlotte. We had become a bedroom community to Charlotte at that time. A lot of commuting was taking place. But all of the growth and development that was occurring in Rock Hill was out on the periphery. Dave Law Boulevard, the Galleria area, had developed during the 90s. Celanese Road was booming. Cherry Road was not so much booming, but was still a vital commercial corridor. But all the growth, all the new residential development, the hospital had driven a whole lot of development on the northwestern side of town. Nothing had happened in the center of town where the textile mills had been located. So the center of town was just one after another of abandoned textile mill sites and rundown neighborhoods, declining neighborhoods, unemployed people without skills to enable them to get new jobs. And so the core of the apple was rotten. And so at that point in time, we made the decision that we really needed to bring the community's attention back to the center of town. We needed to begin developing strategies for bringing jobs and growth and investment and prosperity back to the center of Rock Hill. So we're sitting here in 2022. This is only 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And some people that seems like a long time. That's just not very long. 20 years ago, downtown Rock Hill, the center of the city, was derelict, and all these textile mill sites were vacant. So we began a program to shift the focus to the downtown area. Initially, it was known as Old Town. We had to give it a name. Eventually, it became Knowledge Park. We branded it as an extension of our business park programs. We wanted people to think of it as a place that was designed to attract jobs and businesses. And over a period of years, and it was not a quick process, and we developed the first plan for the Bleachery area in 2003-04. We created the first tax increment district to support the redevelopment of the downtown and the Bleachery area in 2004. The Bleachery sat there. A local developer bought the Bleachery, had great hopes of being able to redevelop it, but between the time they bought it in 2003 and 2010, nothing had happened on that site other than some devastating fires. So in 2010, the city stepped in and bought the Bleachery site. And that was really, since that time, it's been nothing but demonstrable progress. When the first businesses opened on the Bleachery site, I think in 2017 or 18, when Fountain Park opened in 2015 or 16, it changed people's perceptions of the downtown. They stopped seeing it as that old, dead, rundown part of the city and saw it as a place of opportunity where new things were happening, where events were happening. One of the biggest challenges, we're going to, I think, talk about downtown and Main Street. One of the biggest challenges is that for a generation or two, people who grew up in Rock Hill, who moved to Rock Hill from other places, never knew of a downtown that offered anything for them. They didn't come downtown. There was nothing here for them. And so changing people's perceptions, changing their lifestyles, changing the downtown in such a way that people want to come there and want to be part of what's happening there. It's a chicken and the egg question.
Yeah.
How do you get people to come into a downtown where there's no businesses, where there's no activities, where there's nothing to do? And on the other hand, how do you attract those businesses and activities when there are no people? So it's been a challenge, and it's taken a lot of time and a lot of work. But we're there now, and we're just seeing the fruits of all that work that are now taking place in Rock Hill.
So as you think back to that, I guess 22 years ago when the downtown area, Old Town, turned into Knowledge Park. I mean, what were the can you isolate a couple catalysts that solved the chicken egg problem?
A couple of things. One is that we had to find a way to get people back into the downtown, and people who'd never been downtown and had no positive associations to the downtown. We had to create traffic. And so the events, whether it be Christmasville or Red, White, and Boom or the concert series or the St. Patrick's Day event or the Oktoberfest events, we just started programming the heck out of downtown. And it was just a way to manufacture traffic and activity in a marketplace where there was none. Mm-hmm. And so, over a period of years, businesses started seeing that traffic as an opportunity. For a long time, those events, for the few retail businesses that existed in downtown Rock Hill, those events in downtown were the lifeline that kept those businesses afloat. So, it was a long-term strategy, but it paid off.